Hello out there and welcome to Your Next Mission Video Podcast. Today's guest has a lot of irons in the fire. He's an author, he's a host of a podcast, he's a motivational speaker and a performance coach. He spent 13 years in law enforcement and 8 years in the United States Army. Today we're going to hear how his time in the military laid the foundation for all those other things that came later. If you're a veteran yourself, you're going to hear a lot that you can identify with. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Your Next Mission Video Podcast, where we tell the stories of those who have served in the past and those who are serving today. From transition to financial wellness, VA benefits to mental health, we cover issues facing veterans, active military, and their families. Now here's your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army and co-founder of the American Freedom Foundation, Jack L. Tilley.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks to all of our veterans, service members, and families for your service to our great country. Now, before we get started, I personally want to thank our presenting sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union, whose members are the mission. Purdue Global, where you can start your comeback, and USAA, whose mission is taking care of the military community and their families always. With additional sponsorship from Blue Cross Blue Shield, FEP Dental, and Blue Cross Blue Shield, FEP Vision. Together, they make your next mission happen. They love our veterans and families. If you listen to the show anytime, you always hear me say this, we love them too. Today, we're going to talk about how the military service can change a person in a very positive way. And I'm motivated to welcome Chad Bruckner to the show. As I said earlier, he's a podcast host. I shouldn't be talking to him right now. He's a podcast host. He's an author with a new book out. He's a motivational speaker who spent 13 years in law enforcement, and it all started with 8 years in the United States Army. Chad, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you on here.
Sergeant Major, thank you. So honored to be here with you. And I love your energy. Keep that up.
Oh, I don't know if I was run out yesterday, but I got a little bit back here today. There. Hey, before we get started, would you please tell the audience just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Chad Bruckner. I'm 44. I'm from the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania, originally from Philadelphia. It's about an hour north. And I'm a police officer at a university currently where I graduated from. So it's pretty neat. I got my bachelor's and master's from the same college now that I'm serving as a police officer. So I'm continuing that service. I spent 13 years in a municipal police department before the current role I'm in now. Then I was in the Army for 8 years, and I was a performance coach, speaker. I wrote a book in 2023 that kind of came out of nowhere, and I think a lot of those themes will resonate with you about leadership and wellness and organizational culture. And really the whole reason I'm here, Sergeant Major, and I think we're going to talk about a lot today is my wife. My wife is the saving grace, because the themes of military we're going to talk about. Going, like, I went in the Army at 17.
Yeah.
Talking about all those experiences and things we learned along the way. You need those support elements and those bowling alley bumper lanes in your life, and if you don't have them, you're going to fall short of your mission. So you're going to hear a lot of themes of my wife throughout today.
I understand that completely. I've been married a long time, and I got to tell you something. I know who's in charge, about everything. So, hey, look here, Chad. Before we go any farther, if I come up there, could you swear me away on a ticket if I get a ticket or anything like that with law enforcement? Could you?
Absolutely, Sergeant Major. You come through. I'll give you a card, and you'll get a.
You got a card? You got a card that says?
I got a card.
Get out of jail.
I'll escort you through town, whatever you want. You got
it. Hey, when we talked during our prep call for the show, you told me that the military was the ultimate experience. I mean, it's the ultimate experience for everyone. Can you tell me a little about it? What do you mean? What's the way ahead for you with the military?
Yeah, when I grew up, just outside of Philadelphia in the suburbs, and my parents experienced some financial hardships when I was a kid, and so the stability was lacking a little bit as a kid, even though my parents are amazing and they did a great job, and I'm really grateful for them. But some of those early childhood experiences, I know in my soul, stirred me, like so many others, to want to serve and do more and to help and to be a helper and to be a solution-oriented person for society and for communities. So I went in the Army at 17. I enlisted. Didn't really have any other options. I remember signing and enlisting in my senior high school, and the options I had were working at my Uncle Steve's gas station or going in the military, and that was it. I grew up in a very affluent area. There were only 2 kids out of my class that went in the military. Everybody else went to college. So I kind of went in already feeling a little bit of that stereotype of like, what's wrong with me? All my friends are going to college, and what's wrong with me? But what I learned quickly in the military and boot camp especially was it is a job that not everybody can do. And I think that's one of the coolest things when you say it. And it's hard to say that out loud because you want to be inclusive and say it's open for everybody. But it's not. The military is not open for everybody. Not everybody can do it, not only physically. I think that's actually the easiest part. It's the mental and the emotional fortitude that you have to develop. So I wouldn't have what I have today as far as being able to push through adversity, overcome obstacles. I've had a bunch that have popped up. And I just give so much credit to the Army for really building me up and teaching me these skills about how to lead others by example, how to be a person of integrity, things that will help you be successful in every aspect of our lives, especially our relationships.
Yeah, I tell you, I had the same thing. I was 17, went into the service, and I got to tell you a quick story. I graduated at 17 years old. I was sitting on a beach, and I've told this story a lot, but I'll tell you anyway. But I was sitting on the beach drinking an Olympia beer, and a guy says, what are you going to do with your life? And I said, well, I have no idea. He said, you're going to go to college? I said, guys like me don't go to college. You know, it's low self-esteem, nothing's going in the right direction. And so I thought, well, okay. And then the next guy said, hey, you want to join the Army? I said, sure, okay, why not? I had no idea that was even fighting a war. You know, so that sort of made me grow up and maybe seeing things a lot different. Hey, when you left the Army, like a lot of people, did you have a plan? I know I didn't. Did you have a plan?
No, Sergeant Major, I had no plan whatsoever. I got home at 25, just came back from Iraq, 8 years in. I had no college degree. I was still living at home with my parents. Obviously, I was gone for 8 years. I still was sleeping in the same twin bed I slept in as a boy, had no vehicle, had no job waiting for me. So I had nothing. And it was such a scary time. I think those transitioning times for veterans, everybody's got a story about it. And I think, like your mission here at your next mission, I think it's just great. It's like, how do we talk about veteran service and how that can parlay into that transition of continuing to serve in the civilian sector. So, the military gives you these tools and these foundations, but then it's up to us to figure out what we're going to do with them.
Yeah, I tell you, the military, I love the thing about the fact that the military makes you grow up. It makes you see things a little bit differently. And you probably, in some cases, a lot of people don't appreciate until they get out and then they start looking back there a little bit. But it's really was an eye-opener for me. Hey, Chad, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, let's jump into your book. I know you got a new book. I'm going to start talking about your book a little bit and tell the audience about your book. So I know you're not going to go over there. You're a good soldier. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Oh, a good salute. I like that. This is Your Next Mission video podcast with me, your host, Jack L. Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major of the Army. If you're enjoying this discussion, and I know you are because we're talking about soldiers, we're talking about servicemen, we're talking about our country, we're talking about a way of life that some people don't really understand. Please like us. Click on that subscribe button below. And be sure to click on the bell to receive notifications of all of our upcoming video podcast releases. I'll be right back after a word from our presented sponsors.
You're watching Your Next Mission video podcast, proudly presented by Navy Federal Credit Union, the most trusted credit union owned by members of the military community, serving all branches of the armed forces and their families. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Their members are the mission. Purdue Global. You're ready for a comeback, and with Purdue Global, you can do more than take classes. You can take charge of your story, of your career, of your life. Earn a degree you can be proud of and get an education employers respect. Start your comeback at purdueglobal.edu. And USAA.
A promise is a trust not to be broken, whether spoken with an oath
Solemnly swear.
or sealed with a pinky. And after 100 years, we're still taking care of the military community and their families. That's our mission, always.
Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back. We're talking with the United States Army veteran, Policeman Chad Bruckner, who also is an author, a motivational speaker, and a podcast host. Before we get back to our discussion, I want to let you know about a way to support the work we're doing on behalf of our veterans and families here at the American Freedom Foundation. If you have a used vehicle you're planning to get rid of, or some property you don't have any plans for, you can donate it. Visit our website at americanfreedomfoundation.org/donate and click on the vehicle donation button or the home donation button to support our work. We would really appreciate your support. Chad, you have a brand new book, which I just happen to have a copy of right here. Hopefully we can see it right here. But the title's so long, would you go and tell the audience what the name of the book is?
Yeah, absolutely, Sergeant Major. That's looking good there. It's the Holy Trinity of Successful and Healthy Police Organizations, Improving Leadership, Culture, and Wellness. So I know it's a long one.
Yeah.
I can explain it real quick. Faith is really important to me. I'm a Christian, practicing Christian, and when I was looking for a title for the book and I was trying to find, my thesis always was leadership, culture, and wellness. Those three things are the pillars of healthy and successful organizations. And then I started to think about the Holy Trinity and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and I was like, oh, that's it. So I love that title of that book, even though it's a little long.
Yeah. I always tell everybody if you go to war or you're in the military, everybody gets closer to God. Yeah, I've said prayers all the time about God. If you just get me out of here, I'll never, whatever I'm doing, I'll never do it again. That's for sure. What do you hope people get, learn from the book?
It's a great book. That when I wrote the book I wrote it for the policing profession. I was frustrated. Full disclosure, I was frustrated with my journey at the very end of my career and some of the things I was seeing and the optics and our focus. I felt we were getting distracted and the mission was getting kind of shot off course. And as I started to really reflect on that and started to bring that forward publicly, I started to realize we were not ready for that sort of discourse or that conversation within the profession yet. And that's one of the reasons I left. Probably the main reason I left initially was to get out, clear my head, really figure out the next move. And as I started to do that, that's when the book really came to me. And I wrote this book in 4 months. So I went from never wanting to write a book to being so frustrated about the state of affairs and feel like I was screaming into the wilderness with nobody there to listen, that I was up till 4 a.m. every night for 4 months, wrote this book. And it's a book that I think if you're a leader in an organization, whether in a police organization or not, and you want better influence from your teams, you want less conflict, you want less turnover, you want higher retention, you want your employees or team members to perform at their fullest capabilities, you as a leader yourself want to be healthy and well and stable and stay in the game consistently. That's what this book really covers. It's how do we stay in the fight as leaders, and then that will all trickle down and set that positive example for others. So often I have found that, and I've been through this myself, I experience it myself, is as leaders, if we're not the most well, we're not the most healthy, maybe we're battling an alcohol problem, maybe we're 30 pounds overweight, maybe we're going through a divorce ourselves, because we're all human beings first. If we don't address those core issues and our emotional reactions to those issues personally, we're going to bring them to work. We're going to take those out. We're going to interact with our teammates at a level that's not respectful to them or not fair to them or not what we would expect high-performing leaders to act like. So, and then we'll cloud that in a little bit of ego, a little bit of excuse-making, a little bit of ineptitude, and then before you know it, you have an organization where the best of the best have not risen over the past several years, and you're wondering why we're not performing the way we should be, why people are leaving for other organizations. All of these symptoms are symptomatic of poor culture. And when we really delve down poor culture, it's the basic levels of that high view is a high level leadership has to be well, and you have to be well, and you have to have great leadership to create the culture that you want to create. Cultures don't create themselves without a plan and intention. So the book also walks leaders through how can you create a culture that maybe you've never been part of yourself, you never experienced it. And what does a bad culture look like? What does a good culture look like? What are some of the elements? Because maybe there are people serving right now in poor cultures that they think this is a high-performing police agency, but when you really examine the mechanics of it, you're hitting 60% of your capabilities, 70%. So the book really goes into how you're able to reach full capabilities as a police agency and person.
Yeah. As you're talking, I'm thinking about lead by example, setting and enforcing standards, be approachable, a good communicator, a good listener. And the other thing I'll tell you is that in the military now, we're taught to sort of keep everything to yourself. But you got to open up a little bit. You got to tell people what you expect out of them. And you got to be around. I think about 90% of leadership really is just being there. If you're around and people can talk to you and they can see what you're doing and you're not telling them, telling them what to do, you're doing it right. I got to give an example. I remember when I was a platoon sergeant in Germany, we used to go down the motor pool and as a platoon sergeant, I'd say, hey guys, we're going to do this today on your vehicles and stuff. And they'd move out and start doing it. And I'd go to my vehicle and say, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to start doing it too. I mean, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to go fight this vehicle. I don't want somebody else working on it and I don't know anything about it. And so I guess the guy before me was a little bit different. So I said, no, I got to fight too. I mean, I'm not going to say go fight them. We're going to go together and fight. So it's important. The big thing for me is just leading by example, letting people see what right looks like.
You know what I love about that story, Sergeant Major, is if you're a new private coming into your unit and you're walking through the bay, your first day at the unit, you said you were a platoon sergeant then, or first sergeant?
Yeah, platoon sergeant. Yeah.
Platoon
at that time,
You're walking through the bay, vehicles got their lids up, hydraulic guns in the background, like people are doing work. And as you walk through the bay, following the sergeant or the corporal or whatever, you see the first sergeant or platoon sergeant on a roller on his back with oil on his shirt.
Yeah, that's right.
Doing work, and he pops his head out and he goes, "Hey, welcome to the unit, troop," and he rolls back under. That impact, that experience will change that private's career forever because he's like, wow. I mean, you just literally set the ball in the right way by leading by example. Amazing.
Yeah. I love that. Hey, give me an example of the key similarities between police work and military and the key differences.
Yeah, that's a great question. I write about this in the book a little bit that when I came out of the military into policing, I was naive. I never was a police officer before, so I thought there was much more overlap than I thought there to be, and there were a lot of commonalities, such as, when you do a job for somebody else, you need to be surrounded by other people that want to do the job for other people too. So you get that natural band of brothers and sisters, that camaraderie of we have to do a hard job for somebody else, not for us. We don't benefit from it financially. We don't benefit from it from a safety perspective. We're here to give those things to others. So when you surround yourself with other people like that, other police officers, that's very much like the military. And I responded to that. It was amazing. Some of the inconsistencies or some of the differences that really were alarming to me was the chain of command. I think the chain of command in the military is something to behold. It's something that I took for granted when I was in, because every ladder, and you know this very well, obviously, you've transcended all the way to the top level of the Army. I mean, it's amazing. Every rung of the ladder, no matter how high you get, there's somebody above you. Always. Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe in your case as that Sergeant Major of the Army, there wasn't another NCO.
Oh, no. Everybody's got a squad leader. I used to tell them, everybody's got a squad leader.
There you go, yeah. But in policing, like I'll give you an example. Pennsylvania, we have the third most number of police departments in the country. Just so many little agencies, communities, municipalities, especially the center part of the state between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. And they're two-man agencies, one-man agencies, three-man agencies, and everybody does things differently. So in the Army, in the military, you have structure, you have policies and procedures, and everybody generally knows what you should be doing Army-wide. Now, you go to a different unit, and they might have a different way of doing it internally, different culture, different ideology inside because the humans are different, understandable. But generally, you could go to another unit, pick up an M4, and it would be set up with your sights, secured, taped down, 550 corded. Everybody's kind of knows. You step right into that on day one and be like, all right, new unit, I don't know the people, but I can step right in. I know this job and how to perform this job. And policing's a little different. It's more nuanced. It's not as meritocratic as we want to believe it to be.
But should it be different? I mean, because all the time, all the time I'm thinking, if I take you and you're in a squad in Germany, and then I put you in a squad at Fort Stewart, you'll move right into that squad, and you got the concept right there about how to maneuver together, how to fight together, and do all that other things. It seems to me it almost should be the same thing with a police one. I mean, if I go from one state to another state, it may be a little bit different training, but I got to know the tactics and procedures to move in there to do those things.
Yeah, you would think it's not like that at all. And that is a great point. I mean, there are police officers that routinely, you can ask if next time you talk to a police officer that went from one state to another, ask him or her, like, what was that transition like? How different was it? And I would bet bottom dollar he or she is going to say it was almost like being a new cop again. It was almost like learning the job all over again, because the way they do it, you could be a rock star at your police department, come to a new police department, and your rock star tendencies or techniques or skills that got you to where you needed to get to are now not welcomed in the new agency. Where in the military, your skills are kind of transferable Army-wide. If you can do it in one unit, you'll do it in another. It might take some time to get your feet wet as you're newer in the unit and get acclimated. But police work's a little different. There definitely is a political element to it that's been injected over time because of, it makes sense. You're serving your local communities. You have citizens that serve on the councils, on the boards that make these legislative decisions that are now also part of the community. So it gets a little gray and a little messy there at times. So I would say the biggest difference is there's probably a little less of a roadmap and a little bit more of gray area. Have to figure. I wrote a whole section of the book called "Leading in the Gray" for police leaders, because there's so much gray. There's so much gray. You respond to a homeless call, and this happened to me. You respond to a call where somebody's sleeping on the streets. It's the third time this week you saw them. It's 15 degrees out, 10 degrees out. Your heart is breaking for them. They're living day to day. They just wake up every day trying to make it through the day, and they have no quality of life. And then you decided to just impulsively, you know what, I'm going to put them up in a hotel tonight on my own money. You don't say anything to anybody. You don't report it up the chain of command. You just drive them to a call on the radio, drive them to a hotel, drop them off, walk up to the desk, check them in, give them your debit card. They swipe it, so you don't actually give the people your card directly. They pay. You wish them have a great night, get some sleep, stay warm, and you leave. And you forget. I put it out of my mind. But if somebody were to find out about that, generally that is not, because it's such a different technique of how we serve, and it's so outside the box, which shouldn't be, but it's so outside the box that there will be, you could probably get written up on violations of conduct unbecoming if somebody really wanted to get after you because you're on duty and you're spending your own money for somebody that's outside of the policy and the norm. So it's just gotten so bureaucratic that if you really just want to get in and serve the way you know how to serve, and as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, you ought to be able to give them those opportunities to do that in a police department, to meet the communities where they're at. And a lot of officers just don't get those experiences. They're being shot down, limited. They're having these institutional ceilings placed upon them for whatever reason, a multitude of reasons. I'm just saying it's crushing the profession. It's limiting the profession. It's crushing our ability to serve. We see everything in the news now about policing. We've seen it for the last 10 years since the Michael Brown incident, and it really comes back to leadership. We have to get back to having really high-level leaders, and we have to not make it as political as it's been. I know it's going to be political because that's what it is in the military. It's the same way. You're dealing with officers and NCOs and elected officials and people trying to be ambitious and get ahead. But we just got to try to make it as least as political as possible.
A couple of things there. One is I was probably the worst politician you ever got. I was never people say political position. I thought, no, I just I just stayed in my lane of responsibility. Excuse me. I just stayed in my lane of responsibility. I was there, and I focused on the people that I had to focus on. And I think what happens sometimes is you get so worried about the people off to your left and right that you don't have no impact for. You can't change anything. Just stay working in your lane. The other thing is they have to trust you. And what you talked about and putting something up in a hotel for one night, you changed that person's life. And it changed the way he looks at police officers. And so things like that I think are so important. I would think that, I would hope anyway, that there's a lot of police officers that do things like it's the little things in life that have a tremendous impact on people.
Oh, it's that Maya Angelou quote, and I'm paraphrasing, but people will forget what you did for them. They'll forget what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And if you do something kind for somebody, they'll remember, I remember that guy, I remember that girl. Man, they were a nice person. I don't even know why I remember them, but they were awesome, and it's like, they don't remember why you're awesome, but you're awesome.
Well, it's funny. I still get emails from people I met, 20, 30 years ago, and I thought, God, why are you still reaching out to me? Because I always thought that you only have about 10 or 15 seconds when you engage with somebody, or maybe 30 seconds, or maybe even a minute, and you may never see them the rest of your life. And that's the most important minute that you're going to have. Same with a police officer. When you talk to somebody, you may never see that young man or young woman again, but you have 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, depending on what the situation is, to change their life and give them an impression of what you're doing and why you're doing it. So I'm going to say one last thing, but we've got to take a quick break here. But the thing about, I think, on police officers is we don't do enough to educate our country about, the kind of sacrifices that you go through. I was a soldier for a long time, but I don't know if I'd be a good police officer. For a lot of reasons. I'd probably shoot somebody too quick. Maybe that's suited, but I don't know. But it's a tough job. So
it's a tough job, but it's the greatest job, Sergeant Major.
Oh, it is. I'm sure it's a great job. Well, you changed lives.
Yeah.
You changed a lot of people's lives. So. Hey, I want to talk about your podcast. One is that I know you got a great podcast because I was on it myself.
And I want to take you to task a little bit, Sergeant Major. You said you called me I'm a podcast host. I'll say if you're a podcast host, then I'm a roadside gypsy with a electric microphone because I don't have the audience you have. I don't have the staff. It's just me doing everything.
No.
So I'm a podcaster. Like I do it on a hobby when I can. So. You're a host.
You got to help me get a lot more subscribers so we can get all these veterans together.
That'd be great.
Hey, we need to take another quick break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. We certainly appreciate it. Now, here's a word from one more of the organizations that make this show possible.
You're watching Your Next Mission video podcast, brought to you in part by Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental, Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Vision.
Part of transitioning out is that dental and vision insurance breaks off from your medical insurance.
Vision and dental is very important to be able to enjoy your retirement.
Blue Cross Blue Shield makes the transition so much easier.
Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back. We're blessed to be here today with Chad Bruckner, author, podcast host, policeman, and U.S. Army veteran. Remember, this is your show. We know there's so many issues that directly affect you, and we want to address each and every one of them. So please, as I've said many times, reach out to me. Tell me what topics you'd like us to cover. You can leave me a message at 844-424-1134 or send me an email at smatilley@yournextvision.org. And guess what? I'll reach back out to you. Chad, you have got me so pumped up. Now we want to talk about your podcast, and you're a podcast host. You told me not to say that, but I'm going to have to say that. The show is called Motivate Change. Oh, man, I love the sound. I was on your show. I thought I was a pretty good guest, and it's been around for a few months. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, you were a great guest. It's a small show. It's definitely a passion project, but it's one that I'm really learning from other people like you and people that are been doing it longer because I see myself wanting to get more involved in it. I started a podcast when I first came out of policing in 2021 that blew me away. I'd never been into podcasting. I got involved in it to talk about my experiences in policing, and wow, what an experience to be interacting with people and feeling like you're part of something or connected to something, and just storytelling, being curious, learning from people. Amazing. So when I did that, I said, I'm going to find a way. So I did that one, a police one. Then I did another one, a man on the street type session where I'm out interviewing people. Then I did the third one, which I landed on now, which is the Motivate Change pod. And that is people like yourself. We have people on that really pull the lens back on service, on what it means to put yourself in front of somebody else. Because I feel like if we can talk about that more, we get more stories about veterans, first responders, healthcare professionals, educators, business leaders, anybody that has achieved things for other people. Man, what better tool to have to inspire and to motivate change in society than to hear, hey, I heard from Sergeant Major of the Army, this guy grew up not too well off, went into the military, made a life out of something, rose to be the highest NCO in the U.S. Army. Like, that starts from taking care of other people, from putting
All luck, all the way through. All luck.
Yeah.
It was all luck. I'm telling you, anything I've ever got was all luck. That's not good. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Chad.
I'm sure you ended the Pentagon on all luck. Yeah. But I feel like that's how we help leaders, make that change and be the better parents, better clergymen or women. Whatever you're doing for others. If you hear these stories of these ordinary people that grew up and did these amazing things, and you hear their lessons and their experience, you realize it really stems from these ethos of how can I show up in the world and be kind, be collaborative, be helpful, put others before myself. It doesn't mean risk my own mental health or my own professional success, but a rising tide can lift all ships. I believe that. So I think that's what the podcast really aims for. It's not to criticize or to critique without the ability to grow and evolve.
So I guess hearing what you said, so the target audience for you is people that have been successful, senior leaders and stuff. I think sometimes that we ought to look for people, just people on the street. You know what I mean? People that are maybe people like somebody homeless, or a chaplain or whatever. Somebody that's, probably there's not a lot of light on them or something like that. So they get out and they have great stories. The other thing I tell you that. Every service member, every police officer has a story, and we need to hear every one of them because they're important. And I think sometimes there's people that are afraid to tell their stories because they think, it's not that important. It is important. It's important because people need to know about it, but also we need to educate our young adults about the way ahead, about the life, about the future and stuff. So I think it's really important. Yeah.
You bring a good point, Sergeant Major, because we see police officers as the uniform.
Yeah.
We look at their badge sometimes before we look in their eyes. That's the first thing we notice is the stripe on the side of their pants before we notice the complexion of their skin. It's crazy. That uniform is their identity. It's our identity. So how can we help police officers show up and show the world in our communities, yeah, I might be wearing this bright, shiny uniform, but I'm like you. I got fears. I have insecurities. I have passions. I have loves. I have interests. I've been through this. I've been through that. And if we can help community people see those officers more as people, I think the compliance will go up and the use of force will go way down. And that just comes from education and getting the right cops in the right roles. Because there's some amazing school resource officers, community responding officers with big giant smiles and so helpful. And when they're out in the community every day putting that goodness and that community service and that love and smiles and kindness out there, it's like it reverbs and sends shockwaves through communities. If you can get more officers doing that more consistently, it's a golden community to live in.
Well, one thing, I think I told you on your show when I was talking to you on the show, I spent about 9 months in reform school when I was a kid. Did I tell you that?
You did, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it sounds bad just even mentioning it right now. But the fact of the matter, it made me a better person. It made me appreciate life. And so when I had people that came in front of me and that were struggling just a little bit, I'd think, well, what the heck? I struggle. I've struggled all my life, and I'm not a bad person. And everybody has ups and downs in their life. And don't kill them when they have a bad time. Somebody gets you can make somebody fight. You can make somebody get angry. And so as a policeman or a soldier, you've got to know how to treat people and know how to, get the best out of those people. We was talking about motivating people a little while ago, but, motivation is pat them on the back. Good job today. What's going on? Sometimes you got to give them a hug. Whatever it takes to get the best out of that individual. I think that's what you got to do. And that's, again, I look at that the same way I look at it as a police officer. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, one of the things that I really find neat about your experience in the reform school is, and again, I kind of write about this in my book, is resilience. I've missed opportunities in my life to dig into past problematic or traumatic or tough experiences. I wanted to ignore them or pretend they didn't happen because it was painful to think about or talk about or reflect on. But you talk about your reform school and so open about it. When we can go back and revisit some times in our lives that other people might think, oh, that was hard for you, or that, wow, really, I'm sorry you went through that. And you're like, no, I'm good. That made me a better person. Like that is higher levels of resilience. And we need more people in society to embrace that because like you said, we all have experiences. We've all been through bad things, but so many of us want to bury those negative things for shame, for judgment, fear of judgment, ridicule, which I totally understand, but you're limiting your own ability to become more resilient and to have more success because you're afraid of your own mistakes or your own experiences. And just like, hey, you navigate the world. I went through this. I did amazing in this. I really messed this up, but I'm all here and it's all part of who I am. And that's the wisdom that I bring to my life today, you know, where you're at. So I celebrate you for that, of just living a life of, hey, this is what I've been through, good, bad, and different.
Yeah, I think everybody in there, as you get a little bit older, you know, it depends on what age, you're always coaching and teaching young adults. You know, if you see, you know, I probably talk too much sometimes, but if I see a young person that's talking about something and I just engage with them, I think it's my chance to sort of say, you know, this is good. And don't push them one way or another, but give them that information so they can make their own decision, because they are going to make their own decision. So, you know, I love doing that. Hey, I say it all the time, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me. The Army changed my life.
100%.
Oh man, and we talked about it today. Did the Army change your life? Did that affect you?
It changed my life so much that a couple of nights ago, my wife said, and we're sitting at dinner, and she said, Chad, I don't know where you'd be right now if you didn't have me in your life. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I only have my wife in my life because of the military. So it really was this foundational, I'd say my parents, my faith, growing up is that core block that you take into the world as a young person. But then the military was like my core block on steroids. It provided me with things I never even heard about, core values. No, I didn't grow up and nobody told me what a core value is, or ethos, or if you embody this thing of integrity, of always, you know, doing the right thing when no one's looking. And if you do this in every aspect of your life, you're going to be very successful. Nobody told me that as a kid. But then I go in the military and I learn these facts and I experience them and then test them and learn them to be true. It's like, okay, show up in the world, always do the right thing. If you make a mistake, be the first one to point it out to people. Lead by example. Always put people before yourself. Like, those are the lessons that the military showed me and taught me. And then it helped me find a spouse and become a great father. I have 3 kids, and become a police officer and get a couple college degrees and become a speaker, write a book. Like, all these things, I'm just so grateful to Jesus that they happened, because I really believe the military was, wow, it was like this proving ground and this educational institution. And not only did I learn all these things, but I got to do all these things for other communities, for other countries, other people. And wow, what a joy and a blessing.
Well, the other thing is, as you're talking, I'm thinking about teams, about building a team. You know, you have a small team, a bigger team, a bigger team, a bigger team as you grow up in life. It's all about the team.
Yeah.
And it's all about helping each other out all the time. Go ahead.
Real quick story for you.
Before you start that story, make sure I'm not going to let you get out of here until you tell me about your wife. But go ahead.
Okay, I will. When I was in Iraq, I was the youngest squad leader in the company. I was 24, just got promoted to E6, and I was the youngest squad leader in the company. And the first sergeant put the 2 oldest team leaders in the company with me, rightfully so. Experience, wisdom. So one was 28, one was 32, and I was 24. And of course, we butted heads. These guys were in the Army longer than I had been. They experienced more than I have done. They had families, and I didn't have a family. I didn't even have a girlfriend, so they just had a little bit of more life experience. And that 12 months in Iraq with them, doing not only hard missions, but then navigating the interpersonal conflict, having it out sometimes, coming back to the fob and working through it through an hour-long conversation, and then saying, hey, man, let's bygones be bygones, and putting it past you, and then going back to the mission the next day, and then coming back after that mission and finding a joke, finding some similarities, a slice of commonality where you can have a joke, and then the next mission you're getting into it again. That process, that journey of performing at high levels while also maintaining professionalism and working through relationships, honestly is probably one of the top 3 things in my life that I have learned and gained the most wisdom from, of how to navigate that and do both at the same time. I mean, and that's the military. I don't know any other institution that can give that to you than the military, to work out in real time your personal professional development at the same time you're executing really challenging operations. I mean, it's like it's like drinking through a fire hose. So yeah, really grateful for all those experiences.
You know, one of the things that everybody always tells people, they stayed 8 years, 10 years, or 15 years, or 5 years. The Army absolutely changed me. Hey, look, this has been a great discussion. Now I'm going to ask you for final thoughts. But your final thought, I'm going to give you a theme here, is going to be tell the audience about your spouse. I know you. I want to hear that information about your spouse.
Yeah. Man, I hope I don't even get choked up talking about her. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Chuck. I love it when you get choked up. I get choked up all the time.
My wife, Kristen, is a school teacher. She's been teaching first grade for 21 years. And I say that to lead off with it because she has such a tender and kind heart and a patient heart and a selfless heart. And when I have showed up in our marriage, not my best self, dealing with some emotional baggage, dealing with mental health issues, dealing with professional obstacles and adversity, and not being the best husband that I should have been, or the most kind to her, or the most selfless to her, she would give that back to me and reflect what I should be giving to her. And I only hit me in the last 6 months of what a lesson that is when somebody's being mean or unkind because they're going through a tough time. It was never personal. It was never intended to be those things. She would see me, maybe having 4 or 5 beers and what that would look like. Why are you drinking so many beers? It's 9 o'clock at night and you're on your 5th beer already. And I would be like, because I had a long day. That's what people do. Leave me alone. Like that. And she would still reflect and come back with, I love you. I care about you. I always want the best for you. You're a good man. I know you're going to get through this. I can't even put into words today because it's still rather new for me of how amazingly comfortable that is when you're working through some challenges, knowing that you have a spouse that isn't judging you, that's allowing you the space to work through it, that's checking in with you, but also gives you the space, that lets you know that they're in love with you and they believe in you. They always tell the truth to you, even when you don't want to hear it. Like that is something, it's a God-given gift. And I think only the last 6 months, a year, that I really have understood this, really have understood. I've said it in the past, I have the great wife, she's amazing, but I didn't really understand it until now. And I'll probably learn it even more deeper as we get older. But she's just an amazing soul. She's a great mom to our 3 kids. I've seen her do just magical things at 3 a.m. to calm down crying babies. And I've also seen her cheer and scream like a radical mom at our son's high school football game. Just an amazing person, Sarvej. I wouldn't have the things I have. I just wouldn't have them without her, and I'm okay saying it.
Oh, you're a lucky man. You're a lucky man. I mean, that's the. I tell people all the time, the biggest decision you ever made is who you're going to live the rest of your life with. And you got to marry your best friend, and obviously you've married your best friend. But hey, look here. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate all you do. I appreciate your friendship and I'm glad to get you on the show, and you did an amazing job. So, again, thanks so much for being on the show. Now, I was going to say you got any final thoughts, but your final thoughts was talking about your wife. And I see a little glass in that eye. Man, I don't want to push you too far.
Yeah. I was getting there, yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks for coming on the show. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
it, Chad. God bless you.
I appreciate it. God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks again to Chad Bruckner for being with us. I'm Jack L. Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major of the Army. You've been enjoying Your Next Mission video podcast, and thank you for joining us. Log on to our website, yournextmission.org, and leave me a review or say whatever you want to say, but hopefully it's a good one. While you're there, you can visit our nonprofit and corporate partners who have jobs and services available that can assist you in your transition out of the military. And check out our job board in partnership with Recruit Military and Upline, where you can create your own personal profile that will match you with just the right job in real time. You can follow me on my personal social media pages, Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Rumble. If you like what we're doing at Your Next Mission, please click on that subscribe button below. Don't forget to click on the bell to receive notifications of all of our upcoming video podcasts. Remember, we want to hear from you. Please leave me a message at 844-424-1134, or send me an email at SMA Tilley at yournextmission.org. Thanks again to Chad Bruckner for joining us today. And I tell you what, if you didn't get pumped up talking about policemen, talking about soldiers, talking about spouses, talking about the future, talking about God, talking about believing, talking about doing what's right for each and every one of us each and every day, something's wrong with you. You see, it's about our country. It's about God. It's about believing. It's about all of us. But it's about doing the right things each and every time. That's what Chad's doing for all of us. So next time you see a policeman or you see a soldier, tell them thank you. You can pat them on the back, give them a hug, but let them know you care. Thanks for watching, and Thanks to Newmont Studios and, of course, our sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union, Purdue Global, USAA, Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental, Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Vision. We appreciate all you do for our military. And as always, see you on the high ground. Hooah!
You've been listening to Your Next Mission, brought to you by the American Freedom Foundation. Learn more by visiting yournextmission.org.